Thank you very much. It's really nice to receive a round of applause for doing nothing. Doesn't that feel good? It feels good to me. Thank you for your warm welcome. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Oliver, but everyone calls me Ollie. So just call me Ollie. Only my mother calls me Oliver. Okay, so if you really want my attention, just say Oliver. Yeah. So it's nice to see you. Thank you for coming on the weekend. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you're enjoying the sessions today. So my talk is about 21st century teachers and skills. And although this session is 1 hour and 20 minutes, I'm going to go quite quickly. So I put some QR codes in my presentation. The purpose of that was so you don't have to write lots of web addresses. So the purpose was to go faster. But if everybody comes to the front to take photos, we'll go slower. So just to say that you can Google any of the websites that you see or the information. If you don't take a photo of the QR code, don't worry, no problem. Okay, so don't get too fixated on QR codes. There's only a couple. So what are we going to do today? Well, there's 3 sections today. The first is thinking about 21st century skills. What are they and why are they important? And then the second is about being a 21st century teacher. What does that mean? What skills might you need? And the third one is we're going to go through looking at some simple techniques for all teachers in any classroom, and we'll do that using a title called Everybody Up. But these techniques apply regardless of what materials you're using. So that's the plan. But before we start, like a pilot, like an airline pilot, I have a checklist for you. It's important we check a few things. So first of all, can you raise your hand if you have a mobile phone? Show me your mobile phones. I know this is the most connected country in the entire world. So 105% have mobile phones. Yeah, I can tell we're a connected country because every plug is full of people charging their devices. So if you have a phone, please switch it to silent mode, or quiet mode, or vibrate mode. Okay? Now, if you have another phone, please also switch that to silent mode. Okay? If you need to make a phone call, that's no problem. Please just make it outside. It's absolutely fine. So we've got phones. Does everybody have paper? Paper you can write on? Show me your paper. Wave it in the air. I used to teach primary students, so I need to see. Okay, we've got paper. Good. Do we have pens? You'd be amazed how many teachers don't carry pens to conferences, right? Okay, good. Now the next one, politeness. It's a bit different, politeness. I want to show you a graphic about rock concerts. So this is about politeness. Okay, so as you can see here, the evolution of fans at rock concerts. We're now in the post-digital camera age. It's 2015. So a lot of teachers like to take photos with their smartphones of the screen, but please be sensitive to the person behind you. I was in a fight, well, I wasn't in a fight, but there were 2 ladies in Japan at a presentation who had a fight because the lady behind was very upset because the lady in front kept putting her tablet up. So please be sensitive to other people. And my insurance doesn't cover fighting, so no fighting today. And finally, participation. So this is not a lecture. This is a workshop. So you will be working in pairs and you will be working individually. So I expect everybody to work together, participate as much as you can. The more you participate with colleagues, the more you learn. Everybody wins. So please participate as much as you can. So to quickly get going, let me just hear about you. Please raise your hand if you teach primary students. Don't be shy. Or maybe you're just tired. Okay, put your hands up high if you teach primary students. Great. Who teaches secondary students, teenagers? Excellent. Who teaches adults? Okay. Who's in the wrong room? There's probably, the gentleman is honest. This gentleman is honest. Okay, there's usually somebody, don't worry, you're going to have a great time. So good. Now I know about you. What I want you to do is, I'm going to show you some pictures. Can you guess what the picture means about me? Okay? If you can guess about me, I'd like you to raise your hand. You might win a prize. So here's the first picture. Oh, just wait a minute, the lady wants to win prizes, I understand. Okay, here's another picture, another one, and another one. So if you think you know the connection to me, please raise your hand. Don't be shy. Yes, sir.
I think you like traveling?
I do like traveling, but it's not the answer I'm looking for. I'm so sorry.
Do you have a pilot's license?
Do I have a pilot's license? If I had a pilot's license, trust me, I wouldn't be here today. I have a pilot's license. No, anybody else? Anybody else? Don't be shy. Nothing bad happened to this lady and gentleman. Anything else? Yes, the lady at the back, but you have to shout. I'm an inventor. No, I'm not an inventor. I'm not an inventor. Yes. I'm an actor. I'm an actor. Well, I wasn't a famous actor, but I have acted, yes. So you're correct. I have acted before. So here's a prize for you. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Okay. I am an Englishman. How do you know that from these pictures? Apart from my waistline. Well, it's dangerous for me to say I corrected the spelling. I changed the spelling to British English. Correct, well done. Yes, I am from the United Kingdom. Hopefully that won't cause any problems. Okay, anything else? Okay, well let's go on because we've got a lot to cover today. So I live in Japan. The other day I showed this picture and somebody said, "You drink too much," which was not the correct answer. I live in Japan. So this is Japanese subway. You see quite a lot of people sleeping on the train in Japan, usually late evening. So I live in Japan. I was on the JET program. The JET program is Japan Exchange Teaching Program. So that's where I learned to teach. That's where I first came to Asia. I am an Englishman. I also love computer games and technology, which started my interest in technology in teaching as well. This one, yes, I was an actor. I'm also a fan of Doctor Who, if you know Doctor Who. Yeah. And this one, this is a bit strange. This is a British English question. I'm a teacher trainer. Ah, you see, I didn't want you to get that one. No. So I'm a trainer. We call these trainers in the UK. Okay, so on to the more serious stuff. So I also just quickly wanted to show you, or to tell you a little bit about the company I work for, Oxford University Press, because you've joined us today. I'm going to show you a video. It's 3 minutes long. Like any video with students, always start with some warm-up questions for students to think about. So I'd like you to watch the video and look for this information. The year the first book was printed in Oxford. The first question. What year was the first book printed in Oxford? And the second question, what is the web address that will give you competition information at the end? Let's see if this will work.
Oxford University Press, English language teaching.
This is a story about who we are, what we do, and why we do it.
We believe that education changes lives for the better. And that every day we make a difference in people's lives through learning English.
As part of the University of Oxford, Oxford University Press has a history of excellence in research and education that goes back hundreds of years.
In 1478, the first book in Oxford was printed.
In 1896, we opened our first office outside the UK in New York.
In 1926, the Overseas Education Department was created, now known as English Language Teaching.
Today, Oxford University Press has offices in over 50 countries, and our English language teaching materials are used in 174 countries.
We strive to work closely with teachers, academics, institutions, and leaders in education and technology to help create the best possible teaching and learning environment. We visit schools and universities and learn about their teaching needs. We carry out research from focus groups and class observations to worldwide surveys. We work with experts in education and learn from the latest academic research so that we have the best possible information available to support English language teaching around the world.
We find new ways of improving education using the latest technology. Along the way, we check that we're on the right track by reviewing with teachers and piloting in the classroom. We work with schools to test our standalone online assessment tools so that we can be sure they accurately measure students' language level. We provide training for more than 50,000 teachers every year, supporting educators to make a real difference to the lives of English language learners around the world.
We invest only in education. We invest in English language teaching by supporting academic research and by supporting teachers, like the Hornby Trust, which offers English language teachers scholarships to study at British universities. And we invest in publishing, working together with teachers so we can continue to innovate and support English language teaching for the next generation.
We believe that education is a collaborative process, and that we can only achieve the best results if we truly work together, listening and learning from each other. Join us to help shape learning together. How does your teaching change lives for the better? Tell us your English language teaching story, and you could win a 2-week, all-expenses-paid teacher training course in Oxford. To find out more, visit our website.
You probably didn't even have time to write it down. Okay, but it's oup.com/ELT/shaping learning together. So we're running a global competition, which is a scholarship open to all English language teachers worldwide, with a 2-week, all expenses paid teacher training trip to Oxford. So that's, I think, a great opportunity for all teachers. So oup.com/ELT/shaping learning together. And I did just want to say, before we, thank you. If you've ever bought an Oxford book, part of that money goes back to the University of Oxford for research, and it's invested in publishing. So if you are our customer, thank you very much. If you're not yet a customer, I hope that you will be one day. So thank you for your support. So we talked about shaping, or you saw about shaping learning together. Why are we talking about 21st century skills today? At Oxford University Press, we think that listening and learning from teachers is the best way for us to improve what we do. So we recently held a global survey. Last year we held a global survey for primary teachers. About 2,300 teachers from around the world got in touch with us. There were just under 100 from Korea. So this also represents Korea in a statistically significant way. And what we learned about those teachers was that when we talk about professional development and teacher training, the things that teachers are most interested in primary right now is critical thinking and 21st century skills, as well as technology. That's what most teachers told us, and I think that's why you're here today. So there is great interest in this topic all over the world. And I was asked to present on this in Thailand recently and also in Vietnam as well. So you're not alone in your interest, if you are interested in this. But I did want to give you more information, first of all, about what 21st century skills is. This is probably review for you. I'm going to get you to review and think pretty quickly. So in your book you received, I believe everyone got a kind of book which has all the handouts. Can you turn to page 48 for me? Please turn to page 48 in your book, okay? And at the top, you will see, you'll see a chart like this with some blanks, okay? On page 48, I believe it is. You'll see a chart like this with some blanks. What I'd like you to do, first of all, I'll give you 2 minutes to fill in the blanks by yourself, individually. Fill in as much as you can. I've given you the first letters. See if you can fill it in as much as you can. Fill in the blanks. I'll give you, well, maybe 1 minute and 30 seconds, starting now. Fill in the blanks as quickly as you can. Everybody's already Googling the answers. Okay, just fill them in as much as you can. If you can't fill it in, just guess. No penalty, no problems. Okay, stop writing. Pens down. Okay, so I got you to think individually, Now what I'd like you to do is just turn to a partner and share your papers. Can you work together to fill in the missing blanks? Work with a partner, see how much you can fill in together. Begin, 1 minute. How are you doing?
Communication, commitment,
Interesting.
and co-education between student and teacher,
Okay.
between student and parents,
Okay.
and this one,
Courage. I like courage.
courage, number one.
Good guess, good guess. I'll give you the answers in a moment. Okay, the room's gone quiet, which means you've run out of ideas. That's normal. Okay, so we thought individually, we worked in a pair. Now what I'd like you to do is share. So in groups of 4, people in front of you or behind you, see if you can fill in the rest of your charts. Just turn to people in front of you or behind you, doesn't really matter. Let's have a table here, you guys can do it. Okay, there's a lot of laughter here. Is that good or is that bad? I don't know. Good. Oh, it's good. Okay, excellent. Good. Okay, the room's going quiet again now. Everybody's typing into Google as they can. Okay, let's look at the answers. This is in some places, in some countries I've been to, this is review, and for other people this is completely new. We're here to learn together. Doesn't matter if you don't know the answers. So let's look at the 4 C's. These are called the 4 C's, or the learning skills. Doesn't matter about the order. The first one or the first 4. There you go. What have we got? Whoa! High five at the front. Excellent. Good. Okay, so critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So some people got this and some people didn't get this, okay? I'm just going to put my microphone down so we can do an activity. Forgive me shouting at you. Okay, everybody, so we want to remember these. So what's the easiest way to remember things? Jingles or gestures, okay? So let's do a quick gesture to see if we can remember these. What would we do for critical thinking? What gesture? Oh, I like it, I like it. Some of you doing this. Let's do this, critical thinking. I can't tell you how exciting it is to see you guys do this together. Critical thinking. Very good. What about creativity? Creativity, some of you doing this. Okay, how about this one? Creativity. Creativity. Very good. Collaboration. I like it. Some of you are like hugging. Okay, let's just do this. Collaboration. Collaboration. Great. And the final one, communication. Very easy. Let's do this one. Communication. Communication. Okay, great. So those are the 4 C's. Okay, hopefully we'll remember them. There may be a test later. Okay, so these are the most common ones that everybody knows, or most people know about, okay? But I didn't just want to look at these today. I also wanted to look at the other ones. So before we do that, however, there is Bloom's taxonomy, which I know a lot of teachers are familiar with. Bloom's taxonomy is really about critical thinking and critical thinking skills. So you can see a pyramid on the left-hand side here. Again, you can Google Bloom's taxonomy anytime, and you can see a pyramid on the left-hand side here. And really, it's about different levels of critical thinking. It's actually a theory from the 1950s by Benjamin Bloom, and you can see the different levels of the pyramid here. But the basic idea is, if students can only remember knowledge, that is not critical thinking. That is memorizing or remembering. That's still important. Of course, understanding basic knowledge or remembering is important. But as we go up the pyramid, the students begin to think more critically. So, for example, students not only remember and understand, but they apply their knowledge or they analyze things using their knowledge. And right at the top here, maybe they use what they know to create new things. Okay? So this is Bloom's taxonomy, and sometimes you'll hear about lots and HOTS, which is easy to remember. LOTS stands for lower order thinking skills. Lower order thinking skills. So the bottom 3 are usually lower order thinking skills. Not so much critical thinking, but still obviously important. And as you go up the top, you have higher order thinking skills, or HOTS, higher order thinking skills. Okay? So I just wanted to throw this in there because it's very relevant to critical thinking. You could spend a whole day working on this chart, but we're doing it in 10 minutes. So, but as I say, you can access it later. And the important thing is here, we want to challenge students to move up this pyramid. In many cultures, especially Asian cultures, when I was a teacher, students' focus was on remembering and memorizing, not on analyzing or thinking critically. Okay, so for example, Japanese students I taught, they had to just memorize a lot of information for their exams, but they couldn't really analyze it. So this is Bloom's taxonomy, and it's important for critical thinking, which we'll come on to talk a little bit more about later. But let's look at these literacy skills. These are very difficult to guess, so I'll just give them to you. Did anyone get these all correct? What are you talking about? Nobody could guess this. Yeah, so this is literacy skills, but this is information literacy, media literacy. So students don't just need critical thinking, communication, they need to be able to work with information and media. You know, media could be digital media, but they also need to be literate in technology skills. They need basic skills with technology. As you can see, you know, we are constantly receiving information digitally. Students need to understand how to access information, how to think about information, and how to use information. So literacy skills are also important. And the final one, life skills. This is not a photo of me. Life skills. Flexibility. No, I am not flexible. Yeah, the flexibility. So flexibility, initiative, social skills, productivity, etc. So the point here is that students need to be able to work with other students, collaborate, they need to have social skills, they need life skills. When we teach them, it's not just language skills. Now, there is a big debate. Many teachers say, I'm an English teacher, it's not my job to teach social skills. Okay? But many teachers also believe that every teacher should be teaching a variety of skills. That's a decision that you have to make as an individual. So these are the 3 sets of skills, and we've got about 12 of them. So in your handout, on the same handout, working with your partner, can you write down for me on the left in your handout, which of the 21st century skills do you feel you should use in your teaching? Which of the 21st century skills do you think you should do in your teaching? Now there's only room to write 6, so I want you to rank them in importance. Okay? So as you work with a partner, write down a list of 6 and think about, why is this skill important? So please discuss with a partner 2 minutes. Okay? Think about those 12 different skills.
Communication.
Communication. Many people said communication because you're language teachers. So probably communication would come up top. Probably. Anything else? Critical thinking. Some people did say critical thinking. Some people said collaboration as well. Students collaborate a lot in the language classroom, or they should. Right? Okay, good. Did anyone put media? Some people did. Of course, that's becoming increasingly important. Okay, many teachers feel they have to use technology or media in the classroom, especially in East Asia, you know, Korea, Japan, for example. So you will have different kinds of lists. The purpose of this is really just to make you think about what you do. Some of you have not finished the list because I didn't give you time. But when you leave, when you think about your next class, think about what you do now. Think about what you don't do. Maybe something that's not on that list is an opportunity for you to try something new or to do something different. I know that teachers are very busy. Many classes are 50 minutes long, at least in this part of the world, in my part of the world. So it's difficult to fit things in. But a variety of skills is important. We tend to focus on speaking, for example, or listening or communication. So let's quickly talk about why this is all important. Why are we talking about 21st century skills? Well, I have a quote for you here. I'm not going to read the quote, but I'll let you read it instead. Okay, and when you've finished reading, just raise your hand. It's not a competition. No prizes, I'm sorry. It's just this is Classroom Management 101 for 200 people. I have no idea who's finished reading, so okay. Okay, let's do it again. If you've finished reading, raise your hand. Okay, great. Who do you think said this? Excellent, excellent. That lady, yeah, yes, excellent guess. President Obama, fantastic. Here is a book of cross-curricular resources and a delightful branded mug that you can use anytime. There you go. Well done. So critical thinking and 21st century skills is being widely talked about, and it's being talked about by the leaders of nations, such as President Obama, because there is a feeling, or there has been a feeling for more than 10 or 15 years now, that the world is a changing place. So change is really coming to all aspects of education, but 21st century skills is becoming very talked about in English language teaching as much as in other subjects as well, in other areas as well. So as teachers, we need to think about change. But it's not just the classroom. The workplace is changing. So your students now are 6 to 12 years old. Okay? So one day they will join a company. And previously, the structure of the company might have looked like this. So this is what we call a hierarchical company. Okay? And it feels, if you're like me, about the bottom, okay, it feels a bit like this. Okay? The big guy at the top, the big shark at the top. This is very traditional. But the way companies are working now is more like this, the matrix organization. So Oxford University Press is also like this. Here's me again. Okay? I don't look very happy, but I like my job, actually. But everything we do is projects and collaboration with other groups of people. So most companies now work in project groups, and that's a different way of working. And to work in a matrix organization, you need different skills. You need social skills to work with people you don't know. You need initiative. If everybody's working together in this way, who takes the initiative? Who takes leadership? So companies are changing. And I know that teachers, you want your students to be successful in their lives because you care about them. And this is one reason why 21st century skills is important. The world outside is changing. And to give you another example, this is a quote which I found very illuminating, very interesting. Okay, so what this means is that your students now are young, they're bright. You can't prepare them for the jobs of the future because we don't know what the jobs of the future will be. To give you an example, at Oxford University Press, we have social media managers. Oh, sounds like a great job. Checking Facebook, cup of coffee, okay? That job didn't exist 10 years ago. There was no social media used in that way. So this is an example of a job that even in the last 10 years is new. So this is again why critical thinking skills are important, because in the 21st century, the real coin of the realm, what this means is the most important thing. In the 21st century, the most important thing is, can students look at material they never have seen before and know what to do with it? So you get new information every day digitally, but you've never seen it before. What do you do with it? How do you use it? This is why critical thinking is important, and 21st century skills and creativity. Okay? Because everything is new. You can't prepare in the way that we used to be able to. So for example, in the 19th century, this is a classroom from the 19th century. Why they are studying kettles, I do not know. I don't know why they're studying kettles. Maybe this is manufacturing. They look very serious about their kettles. Okay? But in that day and age, you could study, manufacture was the majority of the work, and it was about how to do X to produce Y. So now that we're in the knowledge age, the information age, although the classroom is staying the same, classrooms, this is why we call this layout classroom style, the kind of knowledge that people need is changing. So not just kind of academic skills, but now academic knowledge and academic skills and critical thinking. Okay, so all together. Okay, so the world is changing, basically, and education changes too. It always does, but sometimes slowly. And this is one of the reasons why people are becoming interested in 21st century skills. But as teachers, it's important just quickly to note that this is also controversial. There are people who disagree with 21st century skills. So I wanted to share this with you because it's important to see both sides. Okay? So some people will say that 21st century skills isn't new. Teachers have been teaching collaboration and communication since the dawn of time. That's not new. So why should we suddenly focus on it? And I think that's quite a relevant point. How should you teach 21st century skills? Can you teach creativity? Maybe, maybe not. If you're not sure how you can teach things, how do you assess them? How do you say this student is creative, that student is not creative, this student is good at critical thinking, this student is not good at critical thinking? We can assess language quite easily. It's very difficult to assess 21st century skills. Also, which are most important? Some people said collaboration, some people said communication. What do you focus on? That's challenging. Okay? And finally, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. So if you look at the research, a lot of information about 21st century skills comes from a group like P21. P21 is in your handouts and your references. But that's a business organization. Large companies like Google, Microsoft, Shell, etc. They need employees with 21st century skills. So they push 21st century skills. Now, I think 21st century skills are a good thing. But, as I say, there are people who disagree with 21st century skills. It's important for us to be aware of both sides. Okay, so you can look that up after the presentation. So now we know what 21st century skills are. What's the gesture for creativity? Oh, is it this one? I think creativity is like this. Creativity. Critical thinking. Oh, now you've turned on. Okay. Critical thinking. One more time. Good. Communication. Collaboration. I'm going to do this so many times today. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. So now we remember what the 4 C's are, and that's what we're going to focus on. Let's think about being a 21st century teacher. In this presentation, in the title, I talked about being a 21st century teacher. We focus a lot on students because, of course, they're our prime interest. That's what we're paid to do or what we love doing. But it's rare to think about being a 21st century teacher. So what I did was I found an article called 5 Characteristics of an Effective 21st Century Educator. It's a long title. And I'm just going to summarize the 5 main points for you. This is just for your information, because I think as teachers we need to reflect and think about what we do and what kind of teachers we are as well. So I have no connection with eSchool News, by the way. But I thought it made me think about what I was like as a teacher. So the first one, I've put some images to activate your background knowledge. The first one is thinking about the road ahead or anticipating the future. Okay? So an effective 21st century teacher is always thinking about the future. What will the students need in the future? What skills do they need? What is changing in the world outside? So this is also about being up to date, educated, inquisitive about the world around you. Because as I say, the world is changing. So 21st century teachers think about the future, what's coming. Is this easy? No. But it's something to think about. The second one. The second one, absolutely right, yes. The second one, this is a quote by Einstein. Although there are so many quotes by Einstein. Did he really say this? I'm not sure. But the second one is, effective teachers are lifelong learners. When I started teaching, there were no tablets, there were no smartphones, there was no online practice. So a lifelong learner, as teachers, we need to get new skills to help our students learn. So we should always be learning, and there are many ways to do that. You have all taken a great step by being here today. You're interested in learning, but learning is continuous. Learning goes on all the time. And I think another part of this is, being able to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Teachers make mistakes. Let's learn and move on. Now the third one is a little bit different. So we have some students here. Some of them don't look too happy. Some of them look very happy. But one thing to think about is peer relations. So many students use smartphones, Facebook, apps, computers. But as teachers, we can help them with their relations with other students. So in the classroom, we want students to collaborate, to work together, to help develop these social skills. Many teachers and many governments are worried that technology is focused on the individual. And you see a lot of students like this, heads down. We want them communicating with each other. So let's think about ways to get students working together. Okay, the next one. Who do you think is learning here? If you think the teacher is learning, clap your hands. If you think the students are learning, clap your hands. If you don't know, don't clap. Oh dear. No, okay, I'm just kidding. So the point here is that a 21st century teacher can teach and assess all levels of learners. Now this sounds complicated, but what this means is teachers need the same skills. Teachers need the same skills as students. So if you don't know about technology, how can you assess if the students are good with technology? So this is why you need to think about technology as well. I'm very comfortable testing students' spoken language, but I'm not comfortable understanding how good they are with technology, for example. So make sure that, as well as asking the students to learn, you're also learning new skills, for example, technology. And here's the final one. Okay, so a young lady with an iPad. Technology is everywhere. Do your students have technology themselves? Do they have phones? Do they have tablets at home? Computers? Okay, so a 21st century teacher knows what technology is effective and when to use it. Okay, I travel, I'm lucky in my job, I travel and I'm asked about technology all the time. Many schools use technology. Some schools buy tablets for every student. Some countries have done that. The state of California did that with iPads. It's not the technology, it's whether it's effective or not effective. So when we use technology, make sure it's effective. So know when to use the technology. Okay. In our industry, in publishing and teaching, many schools want new technology, but then it's wasted because it's not used properly at the right time. So just to give you an example of this, this is what we call the SAMR model, S-A-M-R. Okay, the SAMR model, which is becoming, it's from higher education originally, but basically it's a model for using technology. Again, very easy to Google this, called the SAMR model. And it's designed for teachers. Basically, the idea is, when you use technology in the classroom, are you substituting for something? For example, students can write an essay on a piece of paper, yeah? If you ask them to write the essay in a word processor, that is basically substitution. It's the same activity, just done with technology. There's basically no difference. You're substituting the technology for the old way. Okay? So that's substitution. Okay? And everybody does this. All teachers do this. This is not a bad thing. Okay? But it's at the bottom. As we go up the ladder, we use technologies in different ways. So again, with the word processor, if I use Google Docs, I can send the link to other students around the world. Other students around the world can see my work, and they can comment on my work. That is modification. Technology gives us a new way to do things we couldn't do before. Okay? Do you do projects at school? Some people do projects. Projects used to be posters, but now a project can be a video, audio, web links. It can be creative. And if you get to the top, redefinition, we're using technology in ways we could never do before for new kinds of learning. And I'm raising this because it's one way to think about how you use technology. So if you use technology, always think, is this substitution? Is this redefinition? All of them are valuable at different times. But again, a useful way to think about technology. Okay. Right. So we've thought about 21st century teachers. We've thought about why 21st century skills is important. Now let's look at some techniques for you. Some techniques. Some things that you can do in your classes. Okay? Some things that you can do in your classes. Right. So today we're going to use Everybody Up as an example. I think everybody in the room received a copy of Everybody Up. No? I'm in trouble now. That's what I was told on my way in. Okay, it's not essential. I've got the material on the screen. But we're going to use Everybody Up. I'm the only person with a copy, which is not good. Everybody Up is a 7-level series for primary students. And I'm going to illustrate some principles using Everybody Up now. It's an American English course for students aged 6 to 12. Okay? But you can apply these techniques more widely than with Everybody Up. So the first thing we need to think about is support. Okay? The first thing we need to think about is support. So I can't ask a young learner to be creative. Oh, just be creative. You can't really do that with small children. So you need a lot of hand-holding, you need a lot of scaffolding. So think about these things as we go through what I'm going to show you now. So the first thing is collaboration. Collaboration. Now, your students collaborate, they work in pairs, they work in groups. I'm sure that's completely normal. Okay? Okay? So working in pairs and groups is that's exactly what the classroom should be. I'm sure everybody does that already. But there are always more opportunities to work in pairs and groups. And this is where student-centered teaching or student-centered learning is so important. Okay? So, how long is your class? 50 minutes? If it's 50 minutes, raise your hand. If it's 1 hour, raise your hand. If it's 90 minutes, raise your hand. Okay, everybody has different class times. A good rule is 30% teacher talk, 70% student talk. Okay? I know everybody works in pairs, but it's very difficult in a short lesson to get the students talking as much as possible. So think about how can you maximize that talking time. Okay? It's not easy. It's not easy. But one thing that you can do, for example, if you look at, again, in Everybody Up, for example, you'll see that we have these logos, okay, and all over a unit in Everybody Up, there are communication opportunities. So lots of speaking. So always look, does your textbook provide lots of speaking opportunities? If it doesn't, you have to think about them yourselves. Okay, so lots of communication is, of course, very important. The second area is encouraging student independence. So let your students lead the learning. How do we do this? Teachers love control. Teachers love to be the boss, right? Because letting go is not easy because of classroom management issues and the age of the learners. But one thing that's very easy to do is give your students the ability to choose what activities are going to come next. Okay? So to give you an example, if I'm in my classes, I might say, okay, guys, kids, tomorrow, do you want to do a craft activity or do you want to do a speaking activity or a game or something different? You can give the students choices. And then I ask the students to get into groups. If you want to do a craft activity, making, stand over here. If you want to do more of a game, which will be the most popular, stand over here. And the students stand and then we make a choice together, whichever is more popular. But let your students sometimes decide what to do in the classroom. It takes a few minutes, but once the students have the idea, it's very easy. And you're starting to give them responsibility then for thinking about what will we do tomorrow with the teacher. It's still quite teacher-centered, but it's moving the emphasis onto the students. So related to the creative classroom and critical thinking, try and create an inquiry-based classroom. An inquiry-based classroom. What does this mean? There are a few things here. Use projects as much as possible. Projects get students thinking. They get students collaborating. Ask open questions. Give students time to think and confidence to answer. So let's look at projects first of all, then we'll look at open questions. So in Everybody Up you have a lot of CLIL. Is everybody familiar with CLIL? CLIL is content and language integrated learning. So studying other subjects like science or math using English. Okay, this is CLIL. And for example, in Everybody Up, you can see this picture here. What can you see in the picture? Frogs? Trees? Anything else? Water? Good. What subject do you think we might be looking at here? Probably science. Probably science. But if you look at this, there's also lots of language opportunities. What language or grammar could you teach from this image? Counting. How many frogs are there? Describing language. Questions. Prepositions of place. On, under, next to, below. So this is about science, but we're using it to teach language. And to give you an example, in Everybody Up, every fourth lesson is a CLIL lesson. So this one, for example, is about science, but there are lessons about maths, about social studies. But if you don't want to teach maths or social studies, don't worry, because this lesson is also designed as a language lesson. You don't have to know about maths, you don't have to know about science, for example, although this is obviously a very low level. And the reason that I'm showing you that is because CLIL leads to projects. In the 21st century skills, we talked about collaboration, creativity, critical thinking. Project work also involves social skills, it involves creativity, It involves research and independence and taking leadership, showing initiative. So project work is very valuable in this context. And so life skills comes out of project work, not just language, life skills as well. And to give you an example of a higher level, this is level 6. You can see the language is much more advanced. Okay. One point about Everybody Up is it also has a lot of readers series. So there are readers for the course as well. This is non-fiction, so great for project work. So the Everybody Up syllabus is coordinated with a series of readers as well for non-fiction, which makes for great project work. So for example, Everybody Up level 5 uses all of these different readers if you want to do so. So we're talking about reading, and I did mention about questions. So let's talk about questions for a minute. So there are two kinds of questions: open questions and closed questions. And in most textbooks or in readers, you have reading, okay? Maybe a passage. Every textbook has them. Everybody Up has lots of different reading passages, okay? Let me ask you a question. Where are Grandpa and Clunk and Rosie? Where are Grandpa and Clunk and Rosie? Inside the house. What kind of question is that? Closed question. It's basically a knowledge test question. That's a closed question, okay? So usually teachers ask closed questions about reading passages to check comprehension, which is great for checking comprehension. But we need to also ask open questions as well. So one way that you can do this is to use dice. Now I don't have any dice for you because I'd need about 300 dice. Okay? So I'm not going to use dice for you today, but just to give you an example of this, instead of using a regular dice, you can use a critical thinking dice. So in your handouts, I've put an example for you with a reference. So you can make a dice for critical thinking. Okay? The best thing you can do is to get a professionally made dice like this. Okay? I don't have professionally made dice, so I made my own sad dice. So let me give you one piece of advice. One piece of advice. Do not travel with paper dice. Okay, that was my dice as I arrived in Korea. So instead, I spent much of my morning making, see, I can be creative too, you see. So making critical thinking dice. So this is an example that you might use in a classroom. You've got an example on your handout, but you can use a critical thinking dice very simply by, when you have a reading passage, students read the passage, teacher throws the dice. The question is, if. So now the teacher would ask a question starting with if. For example, this reading is about a special invisible suit. So I might say to the students, if you had an invisible suit, what would you do? The boys will give you all kinds of strange answers. Okay? So that is an open question, and the students have to think about it. Closed questions don't promote critical thinking. They promote knowledge comprehension, which is fine. So a simple technique like this can help to improve critical thinking skills, get the students to think critically. But let me warn you, teachers, you must prepare for this lesson. Okay? Make sure you read the passage before the lesson so you know some critical thinking questions. Because if you don't, the students know immediately that you haven't prepared, right? Okay? So critical thinking dice is a very, very powerful tool. Very simple but very powerful tool. And in Everybody Up, we have, as I said, we have lots of reading. This is a reading about Chuseok. I'm so nervous about my pronunciation. So this is from a reader we have called food around the world. This is in the Oxford Read and Discover series. So this kind of critical thinking dice will work with any reading, fiction or non-fiction. Okay, so now let's think about, again, about critical thinking. What can we do with these critical thinking skills? We've looked at open questions and closed questions. A very simple technique for this is using problem-solving tasks, doing activities that don't need language, that use other skills. So let me give you an example. So we're not just working with language. So what can you see on the screen? Yes, it's a crane. Can you tell me anything else? Exactly, it's origami. It's origami. I'm more confident about my pronunciation. Now we're talking, it's origami. So what do you know about origami? Yep, it's folding a paper, exactly. It's most commonly comes from Japan. People associate it with Japan, okay? So in actuality, in lesson 4 of Everybody Up, we have a whole article about origami. But a very simple technique is, for any class with a long reading, is to use a KWL chart, okay? So KWL charts are becoming more popular. Know, want to know, learned. But this is a simple way to activate students' background knowledge. So before the activity, get them to think about what they know already. So many students will say origami, Japan. Also get them to think about what they want to know. And then at the end of the lesson, what they learned. Okay? In actual fact, folding paper started with the Egyptians. It's much, much older than Japanese culture. So, you know, we can share new information with the students as well. So a KWL chart is a simple technique that anybody can use. Another thing we can do for critical thinking is visual literacy. Visual literacy. So visual literacy is the skill of analyzing pictures or media. So to give you an example, textbooks have images like this. Students, and I'm sure, use flashcards as well. But how do students get their information these days? Mainly video, YouTube and video and images. Okay, so visual literacy, understanding images and turning that into knowledge, is an important skill. And to give you one example, very easy to do with Everybody Up, is take some images from the textbook and ask the students to put them in order. These images are not in order. Can you put the images in the correct order for the story? Okay? 1 minute, turn to your partner and see if you can put the story pictures in the correct order. 3, 2, 1, go. Which picture do you think comes first in the story and why? Just talk amongst yourselves. Some of you are finding this really difficult. Okay, which one do you think comes first? Raise your hand if you think it's 4. Okay. Why do you think it's 4?
It's the girl giving him an invitation.
Yeah, the girl's giving him an invitation. Many of you are like, I don't know. Everybody else said 4, so that's why I chose 4. Maybe. Let's have a look at the answers. Actually, 3 is the first one. 4 is the last one. Okay? the rebels up here in the front. Okay? So, as you looked at the pictures, were you reading? There's no reading. Were you thinking? Yes, you were using the images to think about the order of the story. This is visual literacy. All textbooks have stories, and one thing that you can very easily do is rearrange the pictures and ask the students to put them in the correct order. But ask them why. Young students can't give you the answer, but I think it's okay to use your own language to understand. But older students could possibly give you the answer. So use pictures in textbooks, and you notice everybody up has lots of these kind of pictures and images that you can easily reuse. So this is also media literacy, working with different kinds of images as well. Again, a different kind of critical thinking skill. Here we're using visual media. Okay. So the next one is creativity. So ask your students to make extra material for the textbook. Okay? Sounds great because the students do all the work. Okay? But textbooks, just using the material in the textbook is a terrible waste of the textbook. All teachers tell me textbooks are expensive. So let's use the textbook as much as possible if you have one. One easy way to do this, for example, is a simple activity called the story behind the picture. Okay, so I have a picture here from everybody up level 1, and what I would ask my students to do is I would say, look at this boy. What's his story? There's no information, but the students think about, what is his name? Where did he come from today? Does he like ice cream? What are his favorite flavors? Where is he going next? So your students can use their language outside of the textbook very, very easily. And this will work with any picture. Usually an action picture like this. Okay? So use the textbook material for new activities and get students to think about new content for themselves. Another simple activity with a picture is most textbooks will only have 6 or 7 vocabulary words. Your students will know many more than that. So ask your students to brainstorm all the vocabulary in this picture. You have 30 seconds working in your pair. Write a list of as much vocabulary as you can for this picture. The team with the most vocabulary wins a prize. 3, 2, 1, go. Any piece of paper, write a list. All the vocabulary you can think of from this picture. How many can you think of? I always think of Korean teachers as very competitive. Let's see how many you can do. You have 30 seconds left. The front of the room is very competitive. The back of the room maybe can't see. Yeah? This is just to illustrate a point, so don't worry. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop writing, please. Count up how many words you have. How many words in your list? Just shout out loud. Did somebody say 141? No? The gentleman at the back? 42. 42. Are they all spelled correctly? You're a native speaker of English, I think. Okay. Who got 42 or more? How many did you get?
42.
42, he claims as well. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to give both teams a prize. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let me give you a dice, sir, and you a book, and I will come and see me a little bit later. And then at the back of the room, I've got a copy of a book called Bringing Creative Teaching into the Young Learner Classroom. So let me just, no, okay. Let me give this to my colleague here. Please raise your hand, sir, and she'll come and give it to you now. Give both teams a round of applause, please. So now, from your students, you have a list of new vocabulary that you can post on the wall, just using that image. You'd be amazed what they know. Now, I have to draw to a close in just a moment. So I think the last point I wanted to make is, again, about technology. So many schools, many teachers use technology. We talked about using technology effectively. Keep technology simple. And I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Okay, forgive me saying this, but technology is sexy. Especially to people who own language schools. Okay, because technology is attractive to parents. Okay, for example. So, but when you're in the classroom, you want simple technology in or out of the classroom. So to give you a couple of examples, for example, Everybody Up comes with online practice for every student. So in the back of every student book, there's a code, and the students can go online, and there's about 20 hours of additional practice. Now the teacher can also go online and see all of the results and the grades as well. Now this is effective because it's outside of classroom. Your classroom time is highly valuable. Use it to focus on communicative activity. So online practice is something that's very simple. It practices outside the classroom, which is very, very valuable to review the language. So Everybody Up has online practice, which you can project on the screen. So if you have a projector in your class, you can project it on the screen. If you have an interactive whiteboard, you can touch it and use the content. So here you can see for the interactive content, we have all of the audio embedded, so you don't have to use audio CDs again. You can just touch or click. And where you see the star, we've put in extra activities and games for the screen. So when you touch that, you have extra content that you can use in the classroom. So Everybody Up also has this very simple technology that you can use. If you'd like more information about technology or 21st century skills, please take a look at the OUP-ELT global blog. And also, to prepare for this presentation, I was reading Bringing Creative Teaching into the Young Learner Classroom. So to summarize my point for today before we finish, okay, first of all, the 21st century skills is more than just the 4 C's. Okay? What was the gesture for creativity? I'm not confident, but I'll try. Yeah, creativity, yeah. What about critical thinking? Okay, communication, collaboration. Are those the only 21st century skills? No. I'll help you out. The correct answer is no. Okay? You now have a list of other ones. Literacy skills, social skills. We can also teach these things as well. Everybody focuses on the 4 C's because it's most common in the media and it's the skills that we're most familiar with. But please also think about the other ones too. And finally, there are simple everyday techniques that you can use in your class that do help develop 21st century skills that are not difficult to do, which don't need a lot of technology. So thank you very much indeed for listening. And if you'd like more information, please check out our website, oup.com/ELT. And if you visit there, the Oxford Teachers Club, we have more than 700,000 members. It's a free club for teachers. You will never be charged, and there's lots of resources and information in that for you as well. So let me thank you for coming today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you very much.